Men and women over 60, let me ask you something personal. Have you noticed how some of the little habits you once kept private, the ones you thought didn't matter anymore, start to show up in your health in surprising ways? Maybe you've blamed it on age, the fatigue, the restless nights, the trips to the bathroom, the moments when your mind feels foggy. But what if I told you there's another reason? What if I told you that stepping away from one of the most natural human habits, self-intimacy, could be quietly draining your energy, stealing your sleep, and even weakening your independence? Think about it for a moment. You've spent decades building routines to protect your body, eating well, walking for exercise, visiting your doctor. But deep down, there's one routine many people give up as they get older, not because their body no longer wants it, but because society made them feel embarrassed about it. And that silence, that avoidance, comes with a cost you may not even realize. My name is Dr. David Jarrard. I've been a urologist for more than 30 years, working with men and women in their later years. And in that time, I've seen a simple truth play out again and again: when you give up self-intimacy, your body pays the price in ways most people never talk about. This is something your regular doctor probably won't mention in a checkup. But it matters more than you think. And I want to be clear, this isn't about shame. This isn't about fantasy. This is about your health. It's about protecting your brain, your heart, your immune system, your sleep, and even your sense of self. It's about giving your body what it still needs to thrive, even after 60. By the end of this video, you'll discover 7 hidden consequences of giving up this simple act, and why addressing it may be one of the most powerful ways to keep yourself strong, sharp, and independent as the years go by. Some of these may surprise you. Some may even shock you. But I promise you this, they will open your eyes to a part of your health you've probably overlooked for too long. So, let me ask you, do you believe sexual health matters at every age? If you do, type "I'm here" in the comments right now. And make sure you hit subscribe to Golden 70s Health so you don't miss the natural, science-backed advice that helps you live not just longer, but better. One of my patients, a man in his early 70s, sat across from me looking tired and frustrated. He told me, "Doc, I'm up 5 times a night to use the bathroom." I thought it was just old age. He was otherwise healthy, active, even sharp-minded, but his nights were broken, and his days were filled with fatigue. He believed this was simply the price of growing older. But here's what he didn't realize, and what most men don't. Your prostate is not just a passive gland sitting quietly in your body. It's a living, dynamic organ that produces fluid, expands, contracts, and, like every other system, it needs stimulation and release to stay healthy. When you stop ejaculating, whether through intimacy with a partner or self-intimacy, the fluid inside your prostate begins to stagnate. That stagnation creates the perfect environment for swelling, for inflammation, and for pressure that doesn't just affect one part of your body, it disrupts something as basic as urination. That heavy bladder feeling, the weaker stream, the urge that never seems to fully go away, these aren't just annoyances. They are early warning signs that your prostate isn't being cared for the way it needs to be. Now, many men shrug this off. They think, well, I'm older. This is what happens. But the truth is, that assumption often makes things worse. Without regular release, that pressure can build up into something far more serious, like benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. Nearly half of men over 60 face this condition. And when ignored, it can lead to urinary retention, bladder infections, even catheterization or surgery. Here's what studies have shown: men who ejaculate at least 21 times a month are significantly less likely to develop prostate cancer than those who don't. Not because of obsession, not because of fantasy, but because ejaculation is functional. It clears out the old fluid. It refreshes the system. It lowers the risk of buildup. It's one of the simplest, most natural ways your body protects itself. I want you to think about that. Something so private, something many give up because they think it's no longer important, can quietly be the difference between comfort and discomfort, between independence and dependency. I've had strong, proud men tell me they stopped leaving their homes because they didn't trust their bladder. I've seen nights stolen by endless bathroom trips. And it didn't have to be that way. This is why I tell my patients, don't see this as shameful. See it as maintenance. Just like you exercise your legs to keep walking, or eat nutritious foods to keep your heart strong, you maintain your prostate through healthy release. It's a gift you give your body, one that pays you back in comfort, freedom, and control. And here's the part that may surprise you, the consequences don't end with your prostate. What starts there doesn't stay there. The effects move upward, into your brain, into your very ability to think, remember, and stay sharp. Another patient of mine, in his mid-60s, leaned forward in his chair one afternoon and said something that struck me, "Doc, I just don't feel sharp anymore. I walk into a room and forget why I'm there. I lose my train of thought mid-sentence. I used to be so quick, but now, it feels like my mind is slowing down." He thought it was just old age. Something he had no control over. But here's what many don't realize. The brain is not just a collection of thoughts and memories, it's a living, chemical system. And one of the ways it stays sharp and resilient is through stimulation, release, and the flood of natural chemicals your body produces during intimacy. Every time you reach climax, your brain releases a powerful cocktail: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These aren't just feel-good chemicals. They're directly linked to memory, focus, and emotional balance. Dopamine sharpens your motivation and decision-making. Serotonin stabilizes mood and supports restful sleep. Oxytocin strengthens connections, not just with others, but with your own sense of calm and well-being. At the same time, something else important happens: cortisol, your stress hormone, drops. High cortisol eats away at your brain cells, damages memory, and accelerates cognitive decline. So when you stop engaging with your own body, especially over long periods, you lose those protective surges. The brain doesn't get the stimulation it once relied on. Slowly, almost invisibly, clarity begins to fade. And yet, here's the misconception: people assume this fog, this forgetfulness, this decline is just the natural cost of aging. They tell themselves, "I'm getting older, my memory isn't supposed to be sharp." But what if that isn't the full truth? What if part of that decline isn't inevitable at all, but rather a silent effect of giving up self-intimacy? I've seen men who thought they were on the early edge of dementia, when in reality their brains were simply starved of stimulation, blood flow, and balance. I've seen once-focused women lose confidence in conversations, doubting their sharpness, when the real culprit was a neglected connection with their own body. This is why reconnecting with yourself matters. Because every time you do, you send blood rushing to the brain. You release the very chemicals that protect neurons and strengthen pathways. You remind your nervous system to stay alive, alert, and engaged. It's not about chasing youth, it's about preserving vitality. Think about it, your brain thrives on use. Just like muscles weaken when they aren't exercised, the brain softens when stimulation disappears. And one of the simplest, most natural ways to keep it active is through intimacy, even with yourself. So when you hear someone say, "It's just age," remember, not all decline is written in stone. Some of it is preventable. Some of it can be slowed, even reversed, by giving your body what it still craves: stimulation, connection, release. And here's the hard truth: when your mind begins to dull, it doesn't stop there. The fog in your head often spreads into your emotions, dimming the way you feel about life itself. I once spoke with a widower in his early 70s. He sat quietly in my office, eyes lowered, and when he finally spoke, he said something that's never left me: "I don't feel joy anymore. I don't feel sadness either. Just flat. Like I'm here, but not really living." That word, flat, carries a weight. It's not just about sadness. It's about the loss of emotion itself, a kind of numbness that makes every day feel gray. And for so many older adults, this emotional silence creeps in slowly, until they hardly notice it has taken hold. Now, most people think this is just part of aging. They assume that losing emotional highs and lows is natural, that as the years pass, life simply becomes duller. But here's the truth, it isn't always age that does this. More often, it's biology. When you engage in intimacy, whether with a partner or yourself, your brain is flooded with oxytocin and endorphins. These are nature's antidepressants. Oxytocin calms the nervous system, builds emotional connection, and lowers stress. Endorphins release a wave of lightness, a sense of joy, even relief. Together, they balance your mood in ways no pill can replicate. But when you cut intimacy out of your life, your brain loses that natural chemical reset. And without it, a slow emotional drought begins. Joy doesn't feel as high, sadness doesn't feel as deep, and eventually, both emotions fade into a flat, muted version of themselves. I've seen this in so many of my patients. They stop engaging with their own bodies because they believe it's inappropriate, or because they've lost a partner, or because they think desire should end after a certain age. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And slowly, they begin withdrawing, from hobbies, from friends, even from conversations. Life starts to feel like a routine to endure, not an experience to savor. But here's the important part, this flatness isn't destiny. It isn't a rule of age. It's a consequence of neglecting your body's emotional system. Because intimacy isn't about lust. It's not about pretending you're 20 again. It's about reconnecting with your emotional center, reminding yourself that you can still feel, still release tension, still light up the chemicals in your brain that tell you, I am alive. I had one patient tell me, after reclaiming self-intimacy for the first time in years, "Doc, I felt like myself again." It wasn't just physical. It was like color came back into my life. That's the difference it can make. So when you hear someone say, emotional numbness is just part of getting older, remember this, it doesn't have to be. You can choose to reconnect. You can choose to keep your emotional world alive. But emotional dullness isn't the only hidden cost. Because when your mood begins to slip, another problem often follows, one that robs you of peace during the night. A man in his late 60s once came to see me, his face pale, his eyes tired. He leaned back in the chair and said, "Doc, I fall asleep fine. But every night, around 2 in the morning, it's like my body shoots me awake. And then I just lie there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sun to rise." He had tried everything, cutting back on coffee, taking over-the-counter sleep aids, even prescription pills. Nothing seemed to work. And the truth is, many older adults live this same pattern. They chalk it up to age, assuming it's just another part of getting older. But here's what's often overlooked, your body has a natural system designed to bring you into deep, healing sleep, and intimacy is a big part of that system. When you reach climax, your body shifts gears. Oxytocin rises, creating a calm sense of connection. Prolactin is released, a hormone that signals to the body, it's time to rest. Endorphins flood in, releasing tension from your muscles, easing pain, and settling the nervous system. And at the same time, cortisol, your stress hormone, the one that keeps your mind racing and your body restless, drops sharply. That combination is nature's sleep aid. It slows your breathing, steadies your heart rate, and opens the doorway to the kind of deep, restorative sleep that so many people over 60 struggle to find. But when intimacy disappears, so does that natural trigger. Night after night, your body misses the chemical shift it once relied on. Instead of slipping into rest, you find yourself tossing, turning, or waking in the early hours of the morning. You might turn to sleeping pills, but here's the problem. Pills can knock you out, but they don't give you the same deep, restorative cycles your brain and body truly need. They mask the symptom without addressing the cause. The result? Chronic exhaustion. Memory lapses. Weakened immunity. Even an increased risk of falls. And it all starts with nights that are too shallow, too broken, too restless. Now, here's the misconception. Most people think poor sleep is simply inevitable with age. They accept the tired mornings, the naps that stretch into hours, the lack of energy. But so often, it isn't age alone, it's the absence of the body's built-in rhythm. A rhythm that can still be tapped into, even in your 70s or 80s, if you give your body permission. I've had patients tell me that after reconnecting with themselves, they slept like they hadn't in decades. One man said, "Doc, it felt like I was 40 again. I didn't realize how much my body still wanted that release." That's the beauty of it. Sometimes the answer isn't in another pill or another supplement. Sometimes it's in rediscovering the rhythms your body already knows, the ones that have been there your entire life. And here's the important part, when your nights weaken, your days weaken too. And as that cycle continues, it begins to erode something even deeper, the very foundation of your body, your pelvic floor. I'll never forget the words of a retired firefighter who came to me in his early 70s. He had spent his life running into burning buildings, carrying people to safety, standing tall as the strongest man in the room. But now, sitting across from me, he said quietly, "Doc, I feel like the foundation of my body is giving out." He wasn't talking about his arms or his legs. He was talking about something deeper, the base of his body, the core that supported everything else. He noticed small leaks when he laughed or coughed. He felt discomfort standing for long stretches. He even struggled with balance, as though the strength he once carried in his core was slowly fading away. This is something many older adults never talk about. Yet it's one of the most common hidden changes that come with age, the weakening of the pelvic floor. These are the muscles at the very base of your body, supporting your bladder, your bowels, and your sexual organs. And here's the truth. They don't weaken simply because of age. They weaken because they aren't being used, stimulated, and strengthened the way they were meant to be. During arousal and climax, the pelvic floor muscles contract rhythmically. It's not just a fleeting sensation, it's exercise. A natural workout designed by your body itself. Those contractions increase blood flow, keep the tissues elastic, and strengthen the nerves and muscles that hold up the foundation of your body. But when intimacy fades away, those muscles fall silent. Blood flow slows. Tissues lose elasticity. Nerve signals weaken. Over time, this can show up as urinary leakage, difficulty holding gas, discomfort in the lower back and hips, even reduced sexual function. For men, it may mean struggling with erections. For women, it can mean dryness and discomfort that discourage intimacy altogether. Here's the mistake so many people make: they assume pelvic weakness is just an unavoidable part of aging. They reach for pads, special undergarments, or start mapping their days around bathroom breaks, never realizing that part of this decline comes from neglect, not just from the calendar. And this matters for more than comfort. A weak pelvic floor can rob you of your independence. I've seen strong, capable adults avoid social outings out of embarrassment. I've seen confidence crumble because they couldn't trust their own body. And the sad part? So many suffer in silence, never realizing they still have the power to strengthen these muscles in the most natural way possible. The advice I give my patients is simple: don't underestimate the power of safe, regular stimulation. When you reconnect with your body, you're not just maintaining pleasure, you're preserving your foundation. You're sending blood to the places that need it. You're reminding your body to stay alive, active, and responsive. You're keeping the base of your health strong, so the rest of your body can stand on it with confidence. Because the truth is, your body doesn't stop wanting to function at 60, 70, or 80. It only stops when you stop giving it the care it needs. But here's where it becomes even more critical. When the foundation weakens, it isn't only your muscles and circulation at risk. What comes next affects your entire body's defense system, your immunity. A woman in her 70s once sat across from me, bundled in a sweater even though it was warm outside. She looked at me with weary eyes and said, "Doc, I feel like I catch every little cold that comes around. And when I do, it takes me weeks to bounce back. Now, at first glance, most people would simply nod and say, well, that's just aging. The immune system slows down. That's how it goes. And yes, it's true that immunity changes as we get older. But here's the part that few ever connect. Sexual activity, even self-intimacy, plays a quiet but powerful role in supporting your immune system. You see, during arousal and climax, your body produces a surge of biochemicals that go far beyond pleasure. One of the most important is called immunoglobulin A, or IgA. This is a frontline antibody that helps defend you against viruses, bacteria, and infections, especially those that attack your lungs, your throat, and your digestive system. In other words, it's your body's first shield against the colds and bugs that seem to spread so easily. At the same time, endorphins are released, lowering inflammation and helping the body heal. Cortisol, your stress hormone, drops, giving your immune system room to function at full strength instead of being weighed down by constant stress signals. It's not magic. It's biology. Your body was designed to protect itself, but it needs the right signals to do so. Now here's the misconception. So many older adults see frequent illness as a natural part of aging. They shrug off the lingering cough, the slow recovery, the endless fatigue after even a simple cold. But the reality is often more nuanced. It isn't just the number of candles on the birthday cake. It's that their body has quietly lost one of its most natural, built-in defenses. I've seen patients who stopped engaging with themselves for years, only to notice they became more vulnerable to seasonal bugs, more prone to flare-ups of chronic inflammation, slower to recover after minor sicknesses. And when they began reconnecting with their bodies, not for fantasy, not for youth, but for wellness, their immune resilience improved. They felt stronger, more energetic, more alive. That's the lesson here. Self-intimacy isn't just about preserving your emotional health or your circulation. It's also a tool for defense, a way of telling your body, we're still here. We're still active. Keep protecting me. So the next time you hear someone say, it's just old age, remember this, sometimes what feels inevitable isn't. Sometimes, your body is simply missing the signals it once relied on to stay strong. But as powerful as these physical consequences are, there is one cost that cuts even deeper, one that goes beyond your organs, your muscles, or your immune system. Because when you stop connecting with your body altogether, you risk losing something far greater, your very sense of identity, your self-worth. I once spoke with a retired school principal in his late 70s, a man who had spent decades commanding classrooms, guiding young minds, standing tall with authority and purpose. But when he sat across from me during a routine checkup, his posture was different, shoulders hunched, voice quieter, eyes dimmer than I remembered. And then he said something that cut straight to the heart, "Doc, I don't feel like I live in this body anymore. I feel like I'm just inhabiting it." That single sentence carries the weight of what so many older adults silently feel. Somewhere along the way, they stopped seeing their body as part of who they are. They stopped treating it as a home, and instead, it became just a shell they carried through the years. And too often, that disconnection begins when self-intimacy fades away. Here's the truth, self-touch isn't just about pleasure. It's about presence. Every time you connect with your body, even gently, even with no goal other than to feel, you send a powerful signal to your nervous system, I am here. I matter. This body is still mine. Those signals strengthen your sense of ownership, your sense of identity. They remind you that you're not invisible, not fading, not disappearing, you're still alive, still connected, still worthy of care. But when you stop altogether, when you brush off self-intimacy as inappropriate or no longer necessary, something shifts quietly inside. The connection weakens. Small aches get ignored. Mirrors get avoided. Motivation to exercise, to dress well, even to nourish yourself begins to slip. And before long, what was once self-respect turns into distance, even shame. The misconception many carry is that stopping intimacy is a sign of maturity, of moving past those needs. But in reality, the opposite happens. Instead of growth, there's erosion. Instead of dignity, there's disconnection. And this is one of the most dangerous losses of all, because it doesn't just affect the body, it affects the very spirit of the person living in it. I've seen it in men who once carried confidence in every step, now shuffling quietly, no longer trusting themselves. I've seen it in women who once glowed with presence, now feeling unseen, almost invisible. They didn't lose their worth, they simply stopped affirming it. And here's the hopeful part, it doesn't take much to restore it. Even gentle, intentional self-touch can be healing. It can reconnect you with the truth that your body is still alive, still valuable, still worthy of love, even from yourself. It can bring back a sense of dignity, reminding you that aging isn't about fading away, but about continuing to honor the life that still moves within you. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about shame, or fantasy, or clinging to youth. It's about reclaiming the simple truth, you are still here. You still deserve to feel. You still deserve to belong in your own skin. Watching independence slip away can be one of the most heartbreaking parts of aging. Whether it's the frustration of sleepless nights, the fog of a mind that doesn't feel as sharp, or the heaviness of emotions that have gone numb, it chips away at something far deeper than health. It eats at freedom. It touches dignity. It leaves you wondering if the best parts of life are already behind you. But I want you to hear me clearly, this is not about fear. This is not a story of decline. This is about awareness, empowerment, and love for yourself in a way many of us were never taught to give. Because when you understand what's truly happening inside your body, you gain back control. You stop blaming yourself, or your age, or fate. You realize that some of what feels inevitable isn't, it's reversible, it's manageable, and it begins with you. Think about it, all the points we've walked through, prostate health, mental clarity, emotional balance, restful sleep, pelvic strength, immune defenses, even your sense of identity, these aren't separate stories. They're one interconnected truth. They all tie back to how your body responds when you stay engaged with it, when you keep the rhythms alive that nature intended for you, no matter your age. So I encourage you, take one step today. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be forced. Even something as small as reconnecting with your own body in a safe, private way can create ripples that change how you feel tomorrow. A clearer mind. A steadier mood. A stronger body. A more peaceful night's sleep. This is what happens when you remind your body that it still matters. And if you're sitting there thinking, I've been too long without it. Maybe it's too late for me. Let me reassure you, you are not broken. You are not past the point of healing. Your body still wants to thrive. It still wants to protect you, to support you, to give you strength, if you listen to it. Age doesn't mean weakness. Age doesn't mean silence. Age means wisdom, and with that wisdom comes the ability to choose differently. Because the truth is this, you are still here. You still matter. And your body, even now, is waiting for you to remember that. To recap, what we've uncovered together is simple, but powerful. Neglecting self-intimacy doesn't just affect one part of your body. It touches nearly every layer of your health. It can weaken your prostate and make something as basic as urination uncomfortable. It can cloud your mind, stealing away your sharpness and focus. It can flatten your emotions, leaving life feeling dull. It can rob you of deep, restorative sleep that your body desperately needs. It can quietly weaken your pelvic floor, the very foundation of your strength and balance. It can lower your immune defenses, leaving you vulnerable to every little bug that comes along. And perhaps most painfully of all, it can chip away at your sense of identity, making you feel like a stranger in your own skin. But the good news is this, none of these consequences are set in stone. You still have power. You still have choice. You can take small, meaningful steps to reconnect with yourself and protect your health in ways most people overlook. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these points surprised you the most? Was it the link to sleep, to immunity, to your sense of self? Or have you already noticed some of these changes in your own life, or in the life of someone you love? Share your thoughts down in the comments. Because your story, your honesty, might be the very thing that encourages someone else to take action for their own health. And if this message resonated with you, if you found it helpful, I want to invite you to be part of this community. Subscribe to Golden 70s Health for more science-backed, compassionate guidance to help you stay strong, sharp, and independent after 60. Because here, we talk about the things that really matter, even when they're not always easy to discuss. So thank you for watching, and thank you for giving me your time today. Stay strong, stay informed, and above all, remember this: aging doesn't mean fading. You still matter. You still have purpose. And your best years are not behind you, they can still be ahead. I'll see you in the next video.